Hidden in the shadows of FM radio and dusty record bins are bands that broke the rules, rewrote the sound, and vanished before they ever got their due. Today we're diving into 30 obscure rock bands from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that only true music obsessives seem to remember. Some helped shape entire genres. Others released one great record and disappeared. And we're starting right where the underground first found its voice, the wild, unfiltered 1960s. Number 30, the Sonics. Before garage rock had a name, this band from Tacoma, Washington was already blowing out speakers and terrifying parents. With raw vocals, pounding drums, and distorted guitars that sounded like they were tearing through paper, their debut, Here Are the Sonics, captured a level of aggression years ahead of its time. Songs like Strychnine and Psycho didn't just hint at punk, they practically invented the blueprint. They never broke into the mainstream, but their no-frills energy influenced everyone from Nirvana to the White Stripes. For many, they were the missing link between early rock and the chaos to come. Wow! Number 29, 13th Floor Elevators. They didn't just play psychedelic rock, they practically named it. Hailing from Texas, the 13th Floor Elevators unleashed a sound that fused reverb-heavy garage grit with cosmic, mind-bending lyrics. Their 1966 debut, The Psychedelic Sounds of the 13th Floor Elevators, was one of the first albums to ever use the word psychedelic in its title, and the music lived up to the label. Fronted by the magnetic but troubled Rocky Erickson, the band burned bright and flamed out fast. Between drug arrests, mental health struggles, and label indifference, they never got a second act. But their legacy? Untouchable. Number 28, the Monks. Imagine 5 American GIs stationed in West Germany, shaving their heads, donning monk robes, and pounding out some of the most abrasive, unhinged garage rock of the 1960s. That was the Monks. Their 1966 album Black Monk Time was a chaotic collision of distorted banjo, primal drumming, and anti-war lyrics, decades before punk would catch up. It was noisy, political, and completely out of step with the flower power movement brewing back home. They only released one album, but that single record sent ripples through generations of experimental punk and garage revival scenes. Ahead of their time doesn't even begin to cover it. Number 27, the Standells. Long before punk or grunge gave voice to urban frustration, the Standells were already singing about dirty streets and lost dreams. Best known for their snarling 1966 anthem, Dirty Water, this Los Angeles-based band blended British invasion swagger with a raw American garage edge. 'Cause I love that dirty water. Their fuzzed-out guitars and sneering attitude helped define the gritty sound of mid-60s garage rock. Despite a string of memorable singles, they never broke fully out of the underground. But for garage purists, the Standells were the blueprint. Number 26, the Nazz. Before Todd Rundgren became a studio wizard, he was the guitarist and principal songwriter for one of America's most underrated garage psych bands. Formed in Philadelphia in the late 60s, the Nazz fused British invasion melodies with gritty American power chords. Their 1968 debut featured Open My Eyes, a track that perfectly captured their mix of youthful swagger and melodic ambition. The band fractured after just a few releases, but their influence quietly rippled through the glam and power pop scenes of the 70s. Rundgren moved on, but the Nazz left a lasting mark. We've uncovered 5 deep cuts from the 1960s so far. How many did you actually know? Did one of them spark a memory? Or did you just find a new favorite? Let me know in the comments. I read every reply. And don't go anywhere. We've still got 5 more forgotten gems from the 60s to go. Number 25, Love. In the swirling heart of the Los Angeles psych scene, one band stood apart. Darker, deeper, and more poetic than the rest. Led by the enigmatic Arthur Lee, Love blended folk rock and Baroque arrangements into something haunting and cinematic. Their 1967 masterpiece Forever Changes featured the iconic track Alone Again Or, a melancholic mix of mariachi horns, layered acoustics, and cryptic lyrics that still captivate today. Internal tensions and Lee's refusal to tour kept them from reaching mass success. But the mystique only grew. For many, Love wasn't just a band, they were a mood. Number 24, The Move. Before ELO and Electric Light Orchestra, there was The Move, a British band that couldn't decide if they wanted to be pop stars, rockers, or total anarchists. Formed in Birmingham in the mid-60s, they delivered a wild mix of psychedelic flair, heavy riffs, and pure melodic punch. Their 1967 hit, I Can Hear the Grass Grow, showcased their knack for off-kilter hooks and surreal lyrics, all wrapped in tight, punchy production. They smashed TV sets on stage and regularly changed styles, but their core lineup, including future ELO mastermind Roy Wood, quietly laid the foundation for glam, prog, and power pop to come. Number 23, The Gods. Before prog rock had fully taken shape, The Gods were already sketching out its blueprint, with fuzz pedals, organ solos, and serious ambition. Formed in the late 60s and featuring future members of Uriah Heep and Jethro Tull, they fused hard rock with psychedelic textures and classical flourishes. Towards the Skies became a standout, a swirling guitar-driven anthem that hinted at the epic sounds soon to come. They only released 2 albums, but their influence runs deep. For prog historians and vintage vinyl hunters, The Gods are an essential part of the origin story. Number 22, Captain Beefheart. There's experimental, and then there's Captain Beefheart. Fronted by the wildly unpredictable Don Van Vliet, this California outsider pushed rock into completely uncharted territory. His 1969 album Trout Mask Replica, produced by Frank Zappa, was a disorienting mix of blues, free jazz, and surrealist poetry. Tracks like Moonlight on Vermont became cult touchstones, abrasive, complex, and unlike anything else. Mainstream success never came close, but Beefheart didn't need it. His fearless weirdness inspired everyone from Tom Waits to PJ Harvey, proving that rock could be strange, confrontational, and brilliant all at once. Number 21, The Magic Band. Though forever linked to Captain Beefheart, the Magic Band deserves recognition as a creative force in its own right. These were the musicians who brought Beefheart's chaotic visions to life, translating abstract, shouted commands into impossibly tight, angular compositions.
Bring my baby back. When I had this girl.
On tracks like Frownland and Dachau Blues, they bent time signatures, twisted blues riffs, and somehow made it all work with hypnotic precision.
Too late for you, if it's not too late for me to find my home.
They rarely got the spotlight, but their musicianship was legendary. That wraps up our journey through the 60s, 10 bands that helped shape rock from the ground up. Some laid the foundation, others pushed it in bold new directions, but all of them left a mark worth remembering. Which of these stood out most to you? Got a favorite track, album, or memory connected to any of them? Let me know in the comments. I read everyone. Now get ready, because the 70s brought louder riffs, deeper grooves, and a whole new level of ambition. Number 20, Budgie. If you've ever wondered where Metallica got their early sound, look no further than this Welsh power trio. Budgie combined Sabbath-sized riffs with sharp tempo shifts and surprisingly melodic vocals. Their early 70s albums were packed with proto-metal stompers like Breadfan and Parents, balancing heaviness with unexpected emotional weight. They never reached arena status, but their influence is massive. Covered by metal giants and worshipped by underground collectors, Budgie remains one of the most important hard rock bands that never became a household name. Number 19, Captain Beyond. A supergroup in spirit, but a cult band in reality, Captain Beyond was cosmic hard rock done right. Formed by ex-members of Deep Purple, Iron Butterfly, and Johnny Winter's band, they brought serious pedigree to their 1972 self-titled debut. Songs like Dancing Madly Backwards and Mesmerization Eclipse flowed seamlessly from one to the next, blending heavy riffs with spacey grooves and prog rock precision. They never hit the charts, but their sound was years ahead of what classic rock radio could handle. For many fans, discovering this band feels like uncovering a secret weapon in the rock archives. Number 18, Big Star. They had the songs, the sound, and the talent, just not the timing. Big Star's early albums blended jangly guitars with bittersweet melodies that echoed the Beatles and prefigured REM. September Girls captured teenage longing with clarity and charm, wrapped in clean, understated production. But label issues and poor distribution kept them off the airwaves. It wasn't until years later that critics and musicians alike would recognize them as the blueprint for power pop. They didn't break through, but they never faded away. Number 17, Gentle Giant. Gentle Giant took progressive rock to its intellectual extreme, and somehow made it feel alive. Known for their complex arrangements and genre-blending ambition, they fused classical, medieval, and jazz influences into something uniquely progressive. Just the Same, from their 1975 album Free Hand, showcased their dizzying musicianship without losing a sense of groove.
Just the same as anybody.
They never catered to radio or trends, but their intricate harmonies and time shifts earned them a loyal cult following. For prog fans who crave both brains and boldness, Gentle Giant is essential listening. Number 16, the Groundhogs. Blues rock was everywhere in the early 70s, but few bands twisted it into something as raw and urgent as the Groundhogs. Led by guitarist Tony McPhee, they tackled politics, paranoia, and personal unrest with blistering energy. On albums like Split and Who Will Save the World, the band pushed their sound into heavy, almost proto-grunge territory. Cherry Red became a defining track, fierce, distorted, and relentlessly driven. They didn't chase hits. Instead, they carved out a space where heavy riffs met social commentary and built one of Britain's most respected underground legacies. That's 5 down from the 70s, and each one had something completely different to offer. Which of these bands have you actually heard before? Any favorites you still have on vinyl? Or ones you're adding to your playlist right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm always curious which names strike a chord with true fans. Number 15, Sir Lord Baltimore. They were loud, fast, and heavy, long before those things became standard. Formed in Brooklyn in the early 70s, Sir Lord Baltimore fused the raw power of garage rock with the weight of early metal. Their 1971 debut, Kingdom Come, featured tracks like Master Heartache, full of thunderous riffs, frantic drumming, and vocals that bordered on unhinged. Critics didn't know what to make of them, but years later, they'd be credited as one of the earliest bands to ever be described as heavy metal in print. Number 14, Hawkwind. Few bands captured the collision of rock and science fiction quite like Hawkwind. This British group merged psychedelic textures with driving rhythms and a futuristic edge, helping define what became known as space rock. Their 1972 single Silver Machine became an unexpected chart hit, with Lemmy's gritty bass tone and motorized momentum leading the charge. They never played it safe. From immersive live shows to constantly shifting lineups, Hawkwind stayed true to their experimental roots. For adventurous listeners, their catalog remains a strange and rewarding trip. Number 13, Gong. Founded by David Allen, after his split from Soft Machine, Gong blended psychedelic rock with jazz improvisation and surreal storytelling. Their early 70s albums formed a loosely connected narrative known as the Radio Gnome Invisible Trilogy. Master Builder is a standout, layered with swirling guitar, spaced-out synths, and rhythmic shifts that pull you in deeper with every listen. It wasn't made for the charts, but for fans of psychedelic rock with no boundaries, Gong was a trip worth taking. Number 12, The Tubes. Part rock band, part satire act, The Tubes brought theater, attitude, and chaos to the mid-70s stage. Hailing from San Francisco, they mixed glam, punk, and performance art into something completely their own. White Punks on Dope became their calling card, a biting, over-the-top anthem that mocked LA excess with style and volume. Their live shows were infamous. Elaborate sets, costume changes, and scripted madness. While they flirted with mainstream success in the 80s, it was their early, fearless run that earned them cult legend status. Number 11, the Pink Fairies. They played with volume, chaos, and zero concern for convention. The Pink Fairies came roaring out of the UK underground with a blend of psychedelic punk, biker rock, and anarchy. Their 1971 track Do It said it all. Short on polish, long on energy, and bursting with don't give a damn spirit. They shared bills with Hawkwind and played gigs fueled by volume and rebellion. While the mainstream never caught on, their influence echoed through punk, stoner rock, and every dirty DIY band that came after. That's 10 bands from the 1970s, some heavy, some strange, and all of them unforgettable in their own way. Which ones do you think deserved more recognition? Any favorites you've rediscovered? Or bands you think should have made the cut? Let me know in the comments. Your picks might just inspire the next video. All right, let's head into the 1980s, where things get louder, rawer, and more unpredictable. Number 10, Flipper.
Isn't life a blast? It's just like living in the past.
While most punk bands pushed the tempo, Flipper did the opposite, and somehow made it even more intense. Emerging from San Francisco's punk scene in the early 80s, they rejected speed in favor of sludgy, distorted riffs and confrontational noise. Sex Bomb became a cult anthem, chaotic, repetitive, and impossible to ignore. Critics didn't get it, but future icons did. Kurt Cobain, Chris Novoselic, and countless noise rock bands would cite Flipper as a raw, disruptive force that helped reshape underground music in the Reagan era. Number 9, Mission of Burma. At a time when punk was settling into formulas, Mission of Burma tore right through them. Based in Boston, they mixed punk urgency with experimental edge, incorporating tape loops and unconventional structures into tracks like That's When I Reach for My Revolver. Their sound was raw but thoughtful, balancing noise and melody in a way that would define post-punk. They disbanded early due to hearing damage from their blistering live shows, but their influence only grew. For fans of Fugazi, Sonic Youth, or Rem's artier side, it all traces back here. Number 8, Wipers.
Not the truth I see. It's just a mockery.
Long before grunge hit the mainstream, the Wipers were quietly building its foundation in the rainy corners of Portland. Led by Greg Sage, their sound combined jagged guitar lines, brooding atmosphere, and an emotional depth that set them apart from the hardcore crowd.
Got to see it now.
Over the Edge captured their signature tension, restrained, melodic, and quietly explosive.
And on a limb, push me over the edge.
They never toured heavily or chased the spotlight, but their influence ran deep. Nirvana, Melvins, and countless indie bands owe a debt to the Wipers' minimalist intensity and underground ethos. Number 7, The Dogs. Raw, relentless, and criminally overlooked. The Dogs brought Detroit's punk energy to the streets of LA. Originally formed in Michigan in the late 60s, they spent the early 80s tearing through clubs with fast, riff-heavy anthems and snarling delivery. Slash Your Face became their defining track, a short, sharp blast of proto-punk attitude that still sounds dangerous today. never signed to a major label and never softened their sound. But their underground following stayed loyal, and their early recordings became prized artifacts in the punk and garage rock revival scenes. Number 6. Shark Island. They had the sound, the look, and the stage presence. But somehow, Shark Island never made it past cult status. Emerging from the Los Angeles club scene in the early 80s, they brought a darker, more theatrical edge to glam-influenced hard rock. Paris Calling, from their 1989 album Law of the Order, showcased their polished production, soaring hooks, and raw vocal intensity. Despite a strong live reputation and a brief brush with MTV, they were overshadowed by bigger names. But for those who saw them live, Shark Island was the band that should have made it. That's 5 deep cuts from the 1980s, and not one of them played it safe. Which of these bands have you actually heard before? Any favorites that bring back memories, or new names you're about to dig into? Drop your picks in the comments. I'm always curious what stands out to real music fans. Number 5. Clear Blue Sky. A power trio with prog ambitions and hard rock muscle, Clear Blue Sky slipped under the radar, but left behind a cult classic. Their 1970 self-titled debut was packed with extended jams, soaring guitar lines, and a raw energy that felt ahead of its time. Sweet Leaf, not the Sabbath track, showcased their ability to blend melody with heaviness and ambition. They never caught on with mainstream audiences, but their early work became a favorite among collectors and prog rock explorers looking for something just off the beaten path. Number 4. Vardis. Vardis brought a raw, high-energy sound to the early days of the new wave of British heavy metal. Blending boogie rock roots with punk-like intensity, their 1980 live debut, 100 mph, captured that energy in full force. If I Were King stood out as a blast of speed, melody, and grit, all delivered with no frills conviction. They never reached the heights of Maiden or Saxon, but their fearless style and explosive shows earned them a loyal underground following, and a reputation that's only grown over time. Number 3. The Residents. No band blurred the line between music and art quite like The Residents. Emerging from the underground in the early 70s and gaining cult momentum into the 80s, they built their entire identity around anonymity and surrealism. Constantinople, from their 1978 album Duck Stab, captured their bizarre charm. Part absurd theater, part warped pop experiment. They wore giant eyeball masks, avoided interviews, and defied every commercial expectation. While their music wasn't built for radio, their influence runs deep in avant-garde, experimental rock, and outsider art. Number 2, Bang. Bang came out of Philadelphia in the early 70s with a sound that felt like it belonged on a much bigger stage. Their self-titled debut delivered thick riffs, apocalyptic lyrics, and a heavy, doom-laced tone that drew instant comparisons to Black Sabbath. Lions Christians became a standout. Dark, dramatic, and far more refined than most of their peers in the proto-metal underground. They never broke through commercially, but decades later, Bang earned a second life among metalheads and collectors who recognized just how ahead of their time they really were. Number 1, Anvil. Anvil had the sound, the songs, and the drive, but somehow they never got the spotlight they deserved. Formed in Toronto in the late 70s, they helped shape the early sound of speed and thrash metal. Their 1982 album Metal on Metal featured blistering tracks like 666, packed with pounding drums, screaming solos, and raw energy that would influence bands like Metallica, Slayer, and Anthrax. Bad luck and poor management held them back, but they never stopped. Decades later, the 2008 documentary The Story of Anvil introduced them to a new generation and proved that passion doesn't fade.